Hey everyone. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts. I've lurked on this sub for years, reading stories and thinking, that sucks, but it'll never happen to me. Guess what? It did. And it hit harder than I ever expected. My 35M wife, 33F, and I have been married for 5 years. She was married once before, to a guy she met in college. They divorced amicably, or so I thought. She told me early on that they just grew apart, no big betrayals or drama. I respected that she was mature enough to maintain a civil relationship with him, at least on the surface. Our relationship, honestly, was great for a long time. We laughed a lot, traveled, had good communication, or so I thought, and really built a strong life together. She's kind, thoughtful, generous, someone I genuinely felt lucky to be with. But about 6 months ago, I noticed a subtle shift. She started acting distant. Not cold, just distracted. She'd zone out during conversations. She stopped planning our weekly date nights like she used to. When I asked, she chalked it up to stress, work deadlines, family stuff, the usual. Then came the phone habits. She'd take her phone into the bathroom, always kept its screen down, and got jumpy if I walked past while she was texting. I'm not proud of it, but the seed of suspicion started growing in my mind. I didn't have hard evidence, just gut feelings. Still, I didn't press her. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who thinks a couple of late nights and a locked phone equals cheating. Besides, she was so sweet otherwise. She'd still kiss me goodbye in the mornings, send "I love you" texts, and ask about my day. I thought maybe I was just overthinking. Maybe I wanted to be overthinking. I wish I had trusted my gut sooner. So, this is where things took a sharp left turn I didn't expect. About 3 weeks ago, I came home from work a little early. I figured I'd surprise her, grab takeout, maybe watch a movie together. I walk in and she's in the living room, sitting on the couch with this weird look on her face. Not scared or guilty, just serious. Too serious. She doesn't even say hi. She just pats the seat next to her and says, "Can we talk?" My stomach dropped. You know how you know something awful is about to come out of someone's mouth before they even say a word? That was the feeling. Like every instinct in my body was suddenly on high alert. She took a deep breath and said, "I need to tell you something, and I hate myself for it." Those exact words. I remember them like they're burned into my brain. She told me she had been in contact with her ex-husband, let's call him Rick, for a few months. It started innocent, she said. He reached out after his mom passed away, and she wanted to be there for him. They had been close to his family during their marriage, so I kind of understood the initial contact. But then she admitted it didn't stay innocent. They met up for coffee. Then another time. Then dinner. And eventually, it turned physical. She said it only happened once? Yeah, right, because cheaters are always so eager to confess everything, right? She said it just happened, and that she regretted it instantly. That it was like being possessed by a ghost from her past. At this point, I couldn't even speak. I just sat there, staring at her, while my heart did that horrible thing where it starts pounding so loud you can hear it in your ears. She was crying, full of apologies, saying she couldn't live with herself, and that I deserved the truth. That she loved me, not him. That she was scared and didn't want to lose what we had. I wish I could say I yelled or stormed out or said something profound. But honestly, I just sat there, in shock, trying to process how my whole world had just changed in one conversation. After her confession, I didn't say much. I don't even remember what I mumbled, something like, "I need time," or, "I have to think." My brain was overloaded. I got up, grabbed my keys, and just drove. No destination, just away. That night I slept in my car. Pathetic, right? We have a whole house and I chose the front seat of my beat-up sedan. But I couldn't go back in there. I couldn't even look at her. The next morning, I finally came home. She hadn't gone to work. She was sitting at the kitchen table, eyes puffy, like she hadn't slept either. The coffee was cold. She looked up at me and asked if I hated her. I told her I didn't even know what I felt yet. That was the truth. I wasn't sure if I was furious or numb or heartbroken or all of it. I asked why she did it. Why she'd blow up everything we had for a guy who was supposed to be part of her past. That's when the excuses started. She said it wasn't planned. That reconnecting with Rick brought back a lot of unresolved emotions. That he manipulated her into thinking she owed him support, comfort. That he reminded her of who she used to be, and that somehow she got caught up in this fantasy version of herself. Yeah, okay. Then she said something that actually made me pause. She said, I felt safe with him in a way that scared me, because I've never had to be scared with you. Like, what the hell does that even mean? She went on about how she takes me for granted because I've always been stable. That she never doubted my love, and with Rick, it was chaos and pain and all the things she thought she'd outgrown, but when she saw him again, it stirred something up. Basically, I was being punished for being a good husband. Incredible. She begged me not to leave. Said she'd go to therapy. That she'd cut all contact with Rick. That she'd earn my trust back, no matter how long it took. She even said she'd write a letter to Rick telling him she never wanted to speak to him again if that's what I needed. I didn't answer. I just listened. Because honestly, I didn't trust any of my emotions yet. So a couple days passed. We didn't talk much. I stayed in the guest room. She cooked, cleaned, left notes for me, sent long texts about how sorry she was, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't even sure I'd ever be ready. Then Rick texted me. Yup. Me. At first, I thought it was a prank. But nope. It was a whole long message about how he never meant to hurt me, how it just happened. And he hoped one day we could all be civil again. He said, I didn't steal her from you, man. She came to me. I saw red. I didn't respond. I didn't have the words. I showed the message to my wife, and she burst into tears. Said she didn't know he'd do that. Swore she told him it was over. That she hadn't spoken to him since the confession. She even offered to block him in front of me, which, for the record, she did. I watched her do it. Then I told her I needed space. Real space. I packed a bag and went to my brother's house for a week. That week was a roller coaster. 1 minute, I was ready to file for divorce. The next, I missed her. I missed our life. Our routines. The dumb TV shows we watched. The way she laughed when she thought something was too funny. It was infuriating. I tried to explain it to my brother. He told me I had every right to leave. But he also said something that stuck with me. Cheating isn't just about the sex. It's about trust. If you think she can rebuild it, maybe it's worth trying. If not, don't stay just because you're scared to start over. It hit me. I wasn't sure if I still loved her, or just missed the comfort of what we used to be. So I went back home. Not to fix things yet. Just to talk. And that's where things took another unexpected turn. So I came back home. I didn't tell her I was coming that day, I just showed up. The house was quiet. She was sitting on the couch with red, puffy eyes like she'd been crying for hours. When she saw me, she stood up like she didn't know whether to hug me or apologize again. I told her to sit. We talked. And by talked, I mean I let her speak. She said she'd been going to therapy? Alone. That she was trying to figure out why she blew up her life like this. She admitted she had unresolved feelings for Rick, not love, just nostalgia, some warped idea of closure. She said reconnecting with him made her feel wanted again in a way she hadn't in a while. I didn't say anything. I was numb. Then she dropped another bomb. She told me she didn't sleep with him just once. It was 3 times. 3. Each time when I was out of town for work, which is insane because she's always the one who hates it when I travel. I think I actually laughed at that point, not because it was funny, but because what else could I do? It felt like my whole marriage was a bad sitcom. She told me she'd already cut all ties with Rick. That she'd blocked him on everything. That she felt, disgusted with herself and hated who she'd become. Then, in this shaky, broken voice, she said, "You don't have to forgive me. But I still love you." I never stopped. I know I ruined everything. I just wanted to say it, in case this is the last time I get to. She didn't ask me to stay. She didn't beg. She just sat there. Wrecked. For some reason, that honesty hit me harder than any lie she told. It made it more real. This wasn't a game anymore. There were no excuses left. No justifications. It was just me. And a decision I didn't want to make. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in our guest room, staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell I got here. Wondering how the woman I married, the woman I'd built a whole future with, could look me in the eye and say she still loved me while also admitting she slept with her ex 3 times. There wasn't a single version of this story where I came out okay. I thought about the good times, and they weren't even comforting anymore. They just felt like scenes from a movie I used to like but now couldn't stomach. Even our inside jokes made me sick. It's wild how betrayal changes everything. Retroactively ruins the past. By morning, I had 2 options. Burn it all down. Try to rebuild from the ashes. The first option sounded clean. Simple. Cathartic. The second? Terrifying. But despite everything, I couldn't pretend I didn't still love her. And the worst part? I believed she still loved me too. I believed she hated herself for what she did. And I knew if I walked away, it wouldn't be out of hate, it would be out of self-preservation. So I told her we were going to separate. Not divorce. Not yet. I needed space. I needed to think. I needed to figure out who I was outside of this relationship because somewhere in the mess of all this, I'd completely lost myself. She cried, but didn't argue. She offered to stay with her sister while I stayed in the house. That felt like the right move. That was 2 months ago. Separation was weird. The silence was deafening at first. I kept expecting to hear her humming while making coffee, or the shuffle of her slippers on the hardwood floor. I'd reach for my phone to text her random stuff, funny memes, questions about groceries, and then remember I wasn't supposed to. She was giving me space. Respecting boundaries. I'd love to say I used that time to immediately find myself, or hit some kind of personal breakthrough. But honestly, the first couple weeks I mostly watched old movies, ate cereal for dinner, and avoided talking to anyone about anything real. Then I started journaling. Therapy came next. Just me, 1 hour a week, unpacking the trauma. The betrayal. The self-doubt. That was when the shift happened. I started to look inward, not just at what she did, but at who I'd become. At how complacency had crept into our marriage. Not as an excuse for what she did, never that, but as a piece of the bigger puzzle. And then the twist. One day, about 5 weeks into the separation, her ex-husband showed up at my front door. I didn't even recognize him at first. He looked just as nervous as I felt. Said he just wanted 5 minutes, and against every ounce of better judgment, I let him talk. He apologized. Not just some BS surface-level apology either. He told me he'd been in therapy too, that he realized how toxic he'd been with her, and how wrong it was to ever cross that line with a married woman. Said it wasn't love, it was codependency, nostalgia, emotional immaturity. Claimed he ended it before she confessed. I didn't say much. Didn't trust myself to. But it hit me like a brick, this guy wasn't a monster. He was a mess. And so was she. And so was I. We were all just broken in different ways. She came back on a Sunday afternoon. I hadn't told her to, hadn't asked for it, but I wasn't surprised either. There was something in the air that day, that stillness that comes before a storm, or maybe after one. She walked in like she belonged but sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, not even waiting for me to offer coffee or a cold stare. "But I still love you. I know that probably doesn't matter to you right now, but I needed to say it." I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her. She looked different. Not in a dramatic makeover kind of way, just tired. Older. Like she'd been through her own emotional battlefield and was still bleeding under a smile. She started talking about everything. Her past with her ex-husband. How being around him triggered a part of her that hadn't healed. How she didn't recognize how broken she still was. How safe and boring I had started to feel in comparison, and how that wasn't my fault, but hers. And then she said something that stuck with me. You loved me so gently, I forgot what it felt like to fight for someone. That one hit hard. Because I did love her gently. With trust, with ease, with space. Maybe too much space. She said she wanted to go to counseling, together, if I was willing. But she made it clear, if I wasn't, she'd accept it. She wasn't begging, she wasn't manipulating. Just laying it all out. I told her I'd think about it. That was it. No yelling. No begging. Just two people sitting in the rubble, unsure whether to rebuild or walk away. After she left that day, I sat with everything. I thought about the way we started, the years in between, and the damage done. I went back and forth, every hour, every minute, between. How could she? And what if we could fix this? One thing was clear, I still loved her. But love doesn't automatically mean trust. And trust, man, once that's gone, it's like trying to piece together shattered glass with bare hands. Painful and never quite the same. I talked to a therapist. Just me alone. First time in my life I ever sat in a room and said the words, "My wife cheated on me." It felt both surreal and painfully real at once. But damn, it helped. Helped me process the guilt I didn't deserve. Helped me untangle what was mine to own, and what never was. Then one night I called her. Not to say I was taking her back. Just to talk. We talked like two people who had known each other forever but hadn't really seen each other in a long time. No pretending. No scripts. She was raw. I was raw. We were honest for once. And in the end I told her this. I'm willing to try. But only if we rebuild this from scratch. Counseling. Boundaries. Transparency. Everything. She cried. Not the performative kind, real, gut-wrenching stuff. And she agreed to all of it. So yeah, we decided to try again. Not out of fear of being alone. Not because I needed her. But because, somehow, after everything, I still wanted her. And she finally looked like she wanted to be chosen for the right reasons, not because she was running from something else. Looking back now, it feels like I've aged a decade in a year. There were moments I thought I'd lose my mind. Moments I did lose it. Nights I couldn't sleep, days I couldn't eat, and entire weeks I felt like a shell of myself. But I made it through. And here's what I learned. Cheating isn't always about you. That was one of the hardest pills to swallow. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, what I missed, what I wasn't enough of. But her affair was about her unresolved feelings, her poor boundaries, her inability to be honest with herself or with me. You don't owe anyone forgiveness. But if you choose to give it, do it for you, not them. Forgiveness is not permission, it's just release. And sometimes, releasing that weight from your own chest is worth it. Healing takes time. Way more time than anyone tells you. And it's not linear. One day you'll feel like you're fine, and the next you're crying in the car because a song hit too close to home. Talk to someone. A therapist, a friend, a stranger on the internet. Just don't keep it all bottled up. That kind of pain grows mold in the dark. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't gaslight yourself trying to rationalize someone else's red flags. As for us, we're still together. Still working. It's not a fairy tale ending. It's a rebuild. And rebuilds are messy, slow, and exhausting. But some things are worth the effort, and some aren't. Only you can decide which is which. To anyone reading this who's been through something similar, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're just human. And you'll get through it, even if it doesn't feel like it now.